This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome from Johannesburg in South Africa. I'm Eben Jansen. The show is live. It's broadcast from our studios in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube right now with our whole show then available on our YouTube channel a little bit later. The 5-month strike in South Africa's platinum sector is finally over. We'll cross there live a little bit later. Then we start by looking at the cost of illegal mining here in South Africa, and we get the latest from the Marikana Commission. But first, Katrine Milan gives us a news update.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Katrine Malan, and let's take a look at the news making headlines this morning. Trade union AMCU has described its wage agreement with platinum giants Anglo Impala and Lonmin as a positive step. Government, as well as the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, have welcomed the end of the 5-month strike by more than 70,000 members. Members yesterday mandated Union President Joseph Mathunja to sign the 3-year deal. The agreement will see entry-level workers receiving at least an increase of 1,000 rand over the next 2 years and 950 rand in the 3rd year. Staying with mining matters, and Gauteng Police will soon be launching the Provincial Mine Crime Combating Forum to address incidents of illegal mining. This while fears are mounting that there could be more bodies of illegal miners in an abandoned underground mine in Benoni on Gauteng's East Rand. 8 miners were shot and killed execution style over the weekend during a shootout with a rival group. Key police witness at the Farlam Commission, Mr. X, will not have to undergo a mental examination to determine if he is fit to give evidence. Commission Chair Judge Ian Farlam has rejected an application by the lawyer for the injured and arrested miners, Advocate Darling Mpofu. He wanted Mr. X to be prohibited from giving any further evidence at the Commission, arguing that witness is not capable of giving credible evidence. The wife of the so-called Springs monster, who allegedly held his family captive for nearly a decade, is expected to appear in the Springs Magistrates Court today. This after she was arrested on Sunday night. According to police, she will face the same charges as her husband, which include attempted murder, child abuse, assault, and defeating the ends of justice. Her 36-year-old husband allegedly assaulted and tortured her and their 5 children for several years. Then finally, in your World Cup fixtures yesterday, World Cup host Brazil secured their place as winners in Group A after a 4-1 win over Cameroon. Mexico ended second in their group due to superior goal difference after they beat Croatia 3-1. Spain enjoyed a comfortable consolation win after a miserable World Cup when they beat Australia 3-0. And then finally, Netherlands beat Chile 2-0, securing them top spot in World Cup Group B. Remember, all these top stories are available on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Eben, back to you.
Thanks, Katrine. Good morning to you once again. If you've just joined us, South African police are hunting for the killers of 8 illegal gold miners shot dead near Johannesburg over the weekend. 2 of the bodies were discovered underground. The other 6 were found on the surface of an abandoned mine. All 8 had been shot execution style. It's believed there is fierce rivalry between gangs of illegal miners. The land around Benoni, about 30 kilometers east of Johannesburg, is dotted with disused mine shafts that attract men from around the region, including Lesotho, Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Now, I'm joined this morning by Hawk spokesperson Paul Ramaloko, who talks to us about the problem of illegal mining here in South Africa. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, Eben.
Let's start with the most recent incident, the one over the weekend. Concerning it is 8 illegal miners killed. What's the latest there?
Yeah, it is indeed concerning, Eben, because you'll realize that in the same area, not long ago, we had over 20 illegal miners who were found dead. Now we are talking about these 8 who were killed in execution style. It is too early to be talking about the progress of the investigation, but slowly but surely we are getting there. Bodies are not yet identified. Once the family identify the bodies, then we'll be able to get deeper into the investigation. But one should really say illegal mining is indeed a challenge, not only in the Benoni area, mostly in the West Rand. And the Hawks and the SAPS has made a lot of successes in the recent past. And we secured a very good conviction. But it's so amazing that nothing will deter these illegal miners. They are, of course, big faces behind this criminality. But we are slowly but surely getting to them.
I want to talk to you about the abandoned mine, the site where this incident happened. You spoke about in February the 20 illegal miners were rescued, actually, there where they were trapped. What's happened to those 20 illegal miners when they were rescued?
You will understand that we couldn't criminally charge them. We had miners, young ones, which were Mozambicans. We had to hand them back to their parents. Then because most of these illegal miners were undocumented, we then handed them to the Department of Home Affairs Immigration for further handling and processing.
Tell us about the rivalry between these gangs. Why do they fight, and how big is this problem?
It is indeed a problem because mostly in the closed shafts, because you will have a group of undocumented foreign nationals working for another gang, and if another gang realizes that the other gang is performing better, I mean, for the big faces behind the syndicates, they will want to recruit from the other group, and that is where a friction will come. And at the end of the day, there are deaths, there are a lot of incidents as a result of this activity.
Benoni seems to be the place where most of these cases occur. Are there any other areas that where this is happening, and is this a problem that is busy growing and developing in South Africa?
Yeah, indeed. In Benoni area, you'll find illegal mining in the closed shafts. But when you go to the West End, we lately made an arrest of people stealing gold from, Sibanye Gold, and they were employees of this gold mine. Yeah. And you will find that in the legally operating mine, the security of a particular mine will smuggle these illegal miners and for, of course, some kickbacks. And in the illegal closed shaft also, you'll have a situation where there is some illegal mining activity. But at the end of the day, these criminals or these illegal miners are only risking their lives for the benefit of the big names behind this criminal activity.
And do we have an idea how these syndicates work? Do these syndicates have a face and identity that you guys are investigating?
We do know as law enforcement officers, but we are not really at liberty to go into details. But we are saying that we are more worried about the big names behind this, because once we nab the kingpins, then there will not be a market, or these illegal miners will not have a place to take these minerals to.
Now these men, they're called the Zama-Zamas. How do they operate in these mines, and how do they process the minerals that they take out of the ground?
They don't have the refineries. What they do, they are not ordinary individuals. They know about mining. Unfortunately, they cannot get employment in the industry. So they just make use of that advantage to go underground. And I can tell you that they risk their lives. If you see the shafts where they go in, you will realize that a person who is not desperate would not risk his life like that. But they just risk their life. They take the minerals raw as they are. They take them to the metal men. Then the metal men will take it to the other, a dealer. Then at the end of the day, they will get to local refineries who would not have respect of the law.
Now, in your relationship with the Department of Mineral Resources and the like, do you believe enough is being done, and you guys are going to clamp down even more going forward?
Yeah, we have a good relationship with the Department of Mineral Resources and the mining industry. And we are doing our best to arrest these individuals, illegal miners, but you'll have them arrested, deported. They have their way back into the country. But we are saying our target is the kingpin in this industry, so that the illegal miners don't have a place to take these minerals to.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That's the Hawk spokesperson, Captain Paul Ramaloko, who joined us live in studio this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just to recap, Mineral Resources Minister Ramaloko has warned communities to refrain from illegal mining activities after the bodies of 8 illegal miners were found at a gold mine on Gauteng's East Rand. Police say they are following up allegations that there are more bodies in the abandoned mine. Officials are looking for those responsible. It's suspected the miners were killed by a rival illegal mining gang.
It's a long wait for some news and clarity. Illegal miners have given their account of what happened at the weekend.
The fight over the weekend started here, and others ran to where the police found them dead.
It's believed a fight ensued over gold. Some of the men were shot execution style, their bodies found above surface. Gauteng police will soon launch the Provincial Mine Crime Combating Forum to address the incidents of illegal mining. Well, this shaft has been closed 8 times with concrete over the past 2 years. Various groups use it as an entrance. Well, rival groups end up fighting for illegally mined gold, creating turfs. Emergency services said they're awaiting input from the Department of Mineral Resources. But there's very little that can comfort families waiting here. They're clinging to the hope that just maybe the loved ones might still be alive. Criselda Lewis, SABC News, in Benoni on Gauteng's East Rand.
Well, that's a developing story. We'll keep you updated on all our platforms, our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and of course you can go to sabc.com/news for all the latest. But let's take a look now at what's happening on the front pages of the world. The Times and The Guardian bringing attention to the story of 3 English Al Jazeera journalists in Egypt who were all yesterday convicted of allegedly conspiring with the Muslim Brotherhood to broadcast false reports. The judge sentenced each one to at least 7 years in prison. Still in the United Kingdom, and it's all Wimbledon action making the front pages. In Brazil, the newspapers there all reflecting on yesterday's World Cup action. Of course, Brazil secured a top spot in their group and through to the last 16 after beating Cameroon 4-1. Then protests in Sao Paulo, Brazil, flared up again yesterday as the host nation took on Cameroon in their World Cup clash. The latest footage available on YouTube show just how serious the protests have become. Authorities in Sao Paulo, Brazil, are investigating an incident in which a man drew a gun during a protest against the high cost of the World Cup. Police say it happened Monday as dozens of protesters gathered on Avenida Paulista, the city's main avenue and a popular destination for tourists. Local media say that shots were heard and that riot police fired stun grenades to disperse the protest. Well, what are you talking about on social media? What are you passionate about at SABC Newsroom? That's, of course, where you can send us your comments, your pictures, and your opinions. I am an entrepreneur. Oscar says, I will take a very long time for the miners to recover financially. Victory or no victory, referring there to the platinum strike, of course. Kumzile Van Dam says, glad platinum strike is over. Hope a semblance of stability will return to the lives of the striking miners, their families, and all involved. Kolani Nkwagazi says at SABC Newsroom, how do illegal miners gain access to these abandoned mines? They're not fenced or something like that. Well, that's the $1 million question we're trying to answer. Anel Leonard says, ironically, the miners lost so much and the region even more. Union leaders hardly anything, she says. Julio says, maybe with this platinum strike over, the rand can actually stabilize against the dollar. That's what the whole nation is hoping for, my dear. Yes, it has put the country's economy under pressure, and we'll talk a little bit more a little bit later. Well, a little bit later, we'll talk at length about what's happening on the platinum belt right now. Don't go away. This is Newsroom on SABC News.
Have we seen the last of you in politics?
I don't know. No, I'm just okay now with the work that I'm doing. let me just do one thing at a time. So I don't have any plans for politics.
Watch Question Time with me, Mpho Tsedu, Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on the SABC News channel.
The story of Joyce has captured the heart of many and instilled hope to those who had succumbed to the pain of living with cancer.
I am going through breast cancer and of which is stage 4. And the doctor said I left only with 25% to live.
Batho baba tshwereng ke cancer ba ske ba lapa ba tshwanetse ba tswelele pele.
My employer called me and told me that I mustn't come back anymore because of they found someone who's going to replace me.
SABC News, we've got Africa covered.
Thank you. Welcome back. This is Newsroom on SABC News. The Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union, AMCU, its more than 5-month strike on the platinum sector is over. As early as yesterday morning, miners gathered and waited at the Royal Bafokeng Stadium for their leaders to address them on a breakthrough that will see them return to work since they downed tools on the 23rd of January. Members of AMCU accepted a wage settlement that would increase the salary of the lowest paid worker by R1,000 over 3 years. For the latest, we cross to our reporter, Sela Tatai, who's been in Rustenburg since Sunday night to monitor the situation. Good morning, Sela, and just give us an update on what is the latest.
Well, even today we're expecting AMCU President Joseph Matundra to sign the latest wage offer. You'll remember that yesterday when thousands of mine workers were gathered at Royal Bafokeng Stadium, they gave Matundra a mandate that he should sign the new wage offer, and that will be done today. And this basically means that this is an end to a 5-month-old strike. But over and above that, there are logistical factors that one needs to take into cognizance. You'll remember that the majority of these workers are from the Eastern Cape, and we can expect them driving to the Platinum Belt today. And over and above that, there are some workers from SADC countries such as Botswana, Lesotho and Mozambique, and we are also expecting them to start driving from those particular countries all the way down here to the Platinum Belt.
Sela, now you've been with the workers for the last couple of days. Just tell us the mood amongst the group, and also tell us about the losses that they've incurred. Do they still feel very positive that this is going to be turned around in the short term?
Well, it was all joy and jubilation yesterday when workers gave Matundra that mandate to sign for the new wage offer, saying that AMCU has achieved in 5 months what other unions failed to achieve in 20 years. But as you correctly point out, there are losses. Workers have lost more than 10 billion rand in salaries and in bonuses. And also businesses in the area have really taken a knock. Other businesses were forced to close shop. Workers have been struggling to make ends meet. You'll remember that in the past few weeks, aid organizations such as Gift of the Givers have been frequenting this town, handing out food parcels and blankets to struggling mine workers. But as far as things stand now, I think the signing of the new wage offer came as a relief not only to businesses but also residents and the families of struggling mine workers.
Now, they're expected back at work tomorrow. What do the workers say about that prospect?
Yes, as I indicated earlier on, Devin, many of them will be returning to work tomorrow, but they will have to visit various hospitals and health facilities for medical checkups. But that process will be communicated officially by their employers. But we can expect thousands of mine workers, a high influx of mine workers driving from the Eastern Cape and countries that are alluded to start driving into the Platinum Belt to officially start with their duties from tomorrow.
Sela, do we have any idea what is contained in the final wage offer?
Well, the final wage offer rather entails that workers will get 2,000 rand in the next 2 years, and in the third year they'll get 950. This basically means that an entry-level worker would get a basic salary of 10,000 rand after deduction by 2017, but also workers have also had an increment in their living out allowances from 1,250 to 2,000, and your artisans and skilled laborers will get an increment of 8%.
Sela, thank you very much for giving us an update there. Sela Tatai on the Platinum Belt. He's been there for the last couple of days, and he will keep on updating us on what is developing there as workers are hopeful of returning to work tomorrow. Of course, just to recap, government and the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry have welcomed the end of the 5-month strike by more than 70,000 members of trade union AMCU at Platinum Mines. Thousands of union members yesterday gave AMCU President Joseph Matunja an overwhelming mandate to sign the 3-year wage deal today. Minister of Mineral Resources Nwako Ramatlhodi was also involved in the process leading to the resolution of the longest strike, and, well, he had this to say.
Are relieved that eventually the parties have managed to find one another, and I'm sure all South Africans will be very happy to welcome this new development. It's not for government to pronounce on the victory or loss of one or either of the parties. Our work is to ensure that they negotiate with one another in good faith, and that they reach agreement, and that has been reached. And to that end, we are grateful. We gave it 2 weeks of hard work and laid the facts bare before the parties. My team was very efficient. I'm very grateful to them for the job they've done to show the parties the options that were available to them. And when I thought someone was stringing us along, I decided we should leave them to sort themselves out on the basis of what was before them, and indeed they've done so within 2 weeks of that event. This strike looked to me to be extraordinary in terms of the length that it took, and that the country was beginning to be paralyzed in the face of non-agreements. And that's when I decided to, after my swearing in, to take the bull by the horns on the spot. In the event of an abnormal strike such as this one, it might be important for the state not to be rendered impotent, that we do need to have an instrument, legal instrument, at our disposal to be able to settle this sort of a dispute. And I found that the Minister of Labour has also been looking at this matter very actively, and I'm hoping that at some point she will be leading this process, because that is not my call. I can only suggest it belongs rightfully to the Department of Labour, who will then have to follow the due processes, including going through the NETLAC and others, so that all the stakeholders eventually buy into the solution. It may be this one, it may be some other solution, but definitely we need some capability available to a neutral party. It could be the court, it could be whatever, but someone has to be able to intervene when the parties are engaged in a life self-destruction, mutual self-destruction, in a life and death struggle.
AMCU-affiliated mine workers in the platinum industry are expected back at work tomorrow. This follows a wage agreement with platinum giants Anglo, Impala and Lonmin after a 5-month protracted strike, which was signed yesterday. The settlement is expected to see the lowest paid workers receive an increase of 1,000 rand a month for 2 years and 950 rand in the 3rd year.
At last, South Africa's longest industrial action comes to an end.
Comrades!
By accepting the employer's offer, you are instructing us to go and sign the agreement.
Machunjwa says the latest wage offer is victory for the workers.
It's a better agreement. I mean, everything has got a start. So it was a good start to show that the workers in the mining industry are tired of this late salary and these conditions. I think it was quite a breakthrough.
The workers say it is a sign of better things to come.
It was much better because we were struggling more than that while we were waiting, because on that wages that we were receiving before, we think it will be finished within two days.
Machunjwa is expected to sign the agreement with the employers.
Sometimes we forget the devastating effect the platinum strike has had on workers and business who didn't receive salaries for months. For these miners, the next challenge will be picking up the pieces of their lives as they return to work. Throughout the strike, thousands of miners received help from organizations like Gift to the Givers. Just a few weeks ago, our producers Katrine Milan and Neen Dormel were in Rustenburg, where miners received aid and where the situation remains dire. Let's just take a look back at that clip.
It's a strike we all know about, but a sight we haven't all seen. Hungry, striking miners wait for hours in Rustenburg's hot sun to receive a parcel each that will feed their families who haven't received much more than a few vegetables, bread and pap to keep them going for only a few days. Platinum mining employees have been on strike for a better monthly wage of 12,500 rand for more than 4 months now. The situation has become so dire that NGO Gift of the Givers has stepped in to help.
So today we are back here to give the others that didn't get the last time when we were in the shop food parcels. And then what we also did today was to incorporate the white families into this distribution, for the simple reason is that we've been having so many phone calls from individual white people asking us to assist them. And there's no ways that we can go to each one of their homes. So what we've done is we said, mobilize you guys, and then from there you can come and we will distribute to you guys. A food parcel will basically consist of your mealie meal, your cooking oil, your rice, tin beans, mixed vegetables, huggies for some people with babies.
Darren and Magda Smith, 2 community members, help some of these families to get to the shaft to receive the help they need.
Yeah, we organised a bus to come through today, to come and help them. From tomorrow we're going to try and get a more local area.
Members of mining union Anku who called for the strike also wait in line for food. This Anku representative, Peter Motlogewa, says they are willing to die for their wage demand.
Now you can see everyone is clean and they are fed, that they are no longer getting disease like they used to get underground, and they are no longer suffering as they were suffering, because every day people were dying and people were getting infection underground. Like it's close to 6,000 people here. Yes, they are prepared to be on the strike. Even you can see now they are happy to get the donations from Gift of the Givers, so they are still prepared to die for 12,500.
The young people are too shy to say, listen, we are hungry, give us something to eat. So instead they faint in class. The little ones instead, they will say, they give them the one slice of bread, they will say, can you cut it in half for me? Because I want to take that other half home.
While negotiations continue, those affected remain hopeful.
Well, that's the human face of the strike, Rustenburg, a few weeks ago. Let's now talk to the founder of the Gift of the Givers organization, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, about the current situation. Good morning, Dr. Suleiman. Thank you for joining us.
Morning.
The strike may be over now. It's almost over, it seems, today. But does this mean that workers will now no longer need help from organizations like yourself?
No, most certainly they will need more help. When we thought last week that the strike was over and everybody was very happy and excited that they were going to sign last weekend, at that point, the Mine Workers Committee that has been working with us for the whole 5 weeks told us, you know what, we still need 12,000 families to be supported. And in that period, we've done at least 2,500 families. And the reality is, they go to work today, but there's a whole lot of creditors knocking on the door. Where's my light money? Where's my rent money? Where's my hospital money? Where's my clothing money? They have all those things to pay for besides food. And the crisis here is food, the hunger. So no, we have to still go in, and we are going in. We were there yesterday. We were going to go in tomorrow, but I think it's inappropriate to go in tomorrow, given the fact that they're going to work. They need to sort out the systems, the health checks, so it won't be fair to do that tomorrow. Yeah. But we look at maybe later in the week, in consultation with them, without offending the mining companies also.
Do you think that in these mining communities that there'll be permanent damage after this long drawn-out strike?
Well, the psychological and the emotional damage is going to be very long drawn. You know, I mean, people were really hungry. You've seen hunger like you've never seen it before. And people were fighting for a principle, whatever their principle was, but they were fighting for a principle, and they stood by it. They've seen their kids go hungry. They've seen them lose their dignity. They were waiting for handouts. But South Africans are very resilient. Even their health conditions don't look as bad as it's supposed to look under normal circumstances. So as they physically, they will overcome their difficulties, emotionally and mentally. I think given time and the support of the country and well-wishers, they will overcome the difficulty that they've suffered over this period of time.
Now, people often only see the pictures of the miners in picture now that we see on screen. That's the sort of image that stands out, but the collateral damage, the spill-out from out of that is what people don't see, and that is the massive impact it's had on business, small business, and other business in those areas. Just to give us a sort of overview as to how it's affected business and the wider community on all the towns around the Platinum Belt.
I think it's fair to say that everybody's a loser in this kind of strike, you know, because, for example, in Rustenburg, we were told that more than 150 shops closed. Now, taking the people that work for those shops, the mine had many people who were contracted to the mine. Those people had 18 to 20 people for each contract company. You had the effect of those, besides the mine workers, besides their families, besides the areas that they come from, the economy in Eastern Province, Eastern Cape and other areas, the tax base, the losses are horrendous. Doctors, professional people had to close their practices because there's nobody to come and see them because there's no money. So yes, the loss is massive. It's going to take a long time to overcome what has happened.
If I can ask you a close to home question, how much money, just to put everyone in the picture, how much money has your organization spent on aid on the Platinum Belt in recent times?
Up till yesterday, 6.4 million. You know, and it's really small compared to what was required. I must say, to the credit of the mine workers, when we thought we're helping 25,000 families, actually the figures virtually tripled, because they told us quietly that even though maybe we got a couple of kgs of rice and a couple of kgs of meal, we shared that 3 ways because we were all in this together. We only came to know that about 3 weeks later, that whatever we gave, they didn't keep for themselves. They took it much further.
Now, you say you're going to continue helping families and helping those affected on the Platinum Belt. How long do you see your organization still involved with providing aid?
I think maximum will be by next weekend. This weekend and next weekend. And I think the mining companies have said that within 7 days, they should get their first money. If that happens, I think the psychological and emotional satisfaction from that is going to make a huge difference. To have something in your hand, to go and buy something and to pay for something. So I think, yes, you know, to reach those families and also those that are returning from the Eastern Cape. I mean, we didn't give them anything, and we didn't go to the Eastern Cape either. So we don't know what state they are in when they come back tomorrow.
On a sort of personal level, you worked on the ground with these people. What are the images and what are the things that will live with you forever after visiting and seeing the strike on the ground?
Dignity in desperation. I think that image you can't take away from these people. Initially, I mean, the way the media even covered the story, it looked like the mine workers were violent people, aggressive people, yet it's not true. When you go there and you see them, they were just ordinary people, very hungry, wanted somebody to listen to them, back them up and try to give them a fair agreement. That's all they wanted. And in that queue, I mean, when we gave out food, and number 600 was finished, and we don't have 601. The rest go home, and they don't complain. And then these 600 take it and share it with other people. They take up a packet of biscuit, and they kiss it. They see the potatoes that we gave them on Tuesday, and they sob because they got a pocket of potatoes. You see what desperation is. And I keep using this comment. Platinum in the hand meant nothing. What was in the hand in terms of food was more than all the platinum in the mines because they were so desperate.
Dr. Suleiman, you guys have done a fantastic job on the Platinum Belt in seeing through this process. I'm sure that lots of families are very grateful for what you've done. Thank you for joining us.
One more word. Thank you to all South Africans who supported us, the Methodist Church, the Sai Group, UJ, WITS, everybody, all the different groups, the Marikana Striking Committee, everybody who supported us. You made it possible, and even the media. Thank you to everyone, because without you, we could never have done this.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Fantastic job done, and let's hope that we can now move forward and everyone can live happily ever after, as it were.
Thank you.
Well, let's now take a look at what you are talking about on social media at SABC Newsroom. That's where you can interact with us. We love your comments. We love your pictures. Victoria says, who would want to buy medical records? The world has gone mad. Of course, she's talking about Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher's medical records have been stolen, and it's now up for sale, I tell you. Natalie Warren says, make me so angry. His medical records stolen. Hope they find who has done this. Get well soon, Michael Schumacher. Of course, Michael Schumacher has been moved. Sanjeev says, here's the seamy side of media intrusiveness. Michael Schumacher's medical files and offered for sale to the media for 40 lakh rupees. That's about 30,000 South African rand. Jao Cristiano says, how horrible can some people be, as if they'd steal Schumacher's medical records? Come on, you all deserve prison sentences, he says. I cannot believe someone has stolen Michael Schumacher's medical records and he's trying to sell them to the media. That's totally outrageous. Nothing is outrageous in today's world anymore, my friend, unfortunately. Let's take a look now at what's happening on our Facebook page. Of course, that's where you can get all the updates. The good news there is that the Rand has rallied against the dollar after the crippling 5-month strike on the Platinum Belt. You can also read more on why the Independent Electoral Commission Chair, Advocate Pansy Takula, who has requested special leave from President Jacob Zuma, and on mining union AMCU and platinum giants Anglo, Impala and Lonmin, who are expected to sign that wage agreement today. Now, looking back, history was made at Ellis Park Stadium on the 24th of June 1995. That's today, where the South African rugby team, famously known as the Springboks, beat New Zealand 15-12 in the World Cup final. Historic clash, the Madiba Magic played a tremendous role in South Africa winning that World Cup trophy for the first time since the tournament's inception.
Reconciliation.
It was a memorable African afternoon.
Francois, and then we had 65,000 South Africans here today. Tremendous support.
David, we didn't have 60,000 South Africans. We had 43 million South Africans.
The president to the captain. A moment that helped shape a new rainbow nation. A moment crafted by the charisma, the dignity, and the understated genius of one very special man.
I was one of the lucky ones. I was fortunate to attend that match. It was one of my first gigs as a broadcast journalist, and I look back at it as one of the greatest events that I've been involved with. Anyhow, we'll be back after a short commercial break with a little bit more right here on Newsroom.
.99% Zulu has returned to the Lyric Theatre in Gold Reef City in Johannesburg this weekend.
This guy doesn't know how to do the Mateba jive.
Sarah Dupree is bringing his celebrity impersonations to Johannesburg. Audiences will be treated to nights of glitz and glamour and Cher, Lady Gaga, Tina Turner and more impersonations.
That's Afro Showbiz News, Saturdays, 7:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Across the globe, the continent and the entire country, every second there's always a breaking story. SABC News is your reliable eye, ear and information system in bringing you events as they happen. Our cutting-edge and hard-hitting journalism leaves no stone unturned, giving you the whole picture every time. Join us every day on SABC3 and know what is happening around you. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Welcome back. This is Newsroom on SABC News. Let's just go back to Katrine for a quick news update.
Let's take a look at the news making headlines this morning. Trade union UMCU has described its wage agreement with platinum giants Anglo Impala and Lonmin as a positive step. The government has, as well as the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, have welcomed the end to the 5-month strike by more than 70,000 members. Members yesterday mandated Union President Joseph Matunja to sign the 3-year deal. The agreement will see entry-level workers receiving at least an increase of 1,000 rand over the next 2 years and 950 rand in the 3rd year. Staying with mining matters, and Gauteng Police will soon be launching the Provincial Mine Crime Combating Forum to address incidents of illegal mining. This while fears are mounting that there could be more bodies of illegal miners in an abandoned underground mine in Benoni on Gauteng's East Rand. 8 miners were shot and killed execution style over the weekend during a shootout with a rival group. Key police witness at the Farlam Commission, Mr. X, will not have to undergo a mental examination to determine if he is fit to give evidence. Commission Chair Judge Ian Farlam has rejected an application by a lawyer for the injured and arrested miners, Advocate Darling Mpofu. He wanted Mr. X to be prohibited from giving any further evidence at the Commission, arguing that the witness is not capable of giving credible evidence. The wife of the so-called Springs monster, who allegedly held his family captive for nearly a decade, is expected to appear in the Springs Magistrates Court today. This after she was arrested on Sunday night. According to police, she will face the same charges as her husband, which include attempted murder, child abuse, assault, and defeating the ends of justice. Her 36-year-old husband allegedly assaulted and tortured her and their 5 children for several years. Then finally, in your World Cup fixtures yesterday, World Cup host Brazil secured their place as winners in Group A after a 4-1 win over Cameroon. Mexico ended second in the group due to inferior goal difference after they beat Croatia 3-1. Spain enjoyed a comfortable consolation win after a miserable World Cup when they beat Australia 3-0. And then finally, Netherlands beat Chile 2-0, securing them top spot in World Cup Group B. Remember, all these top stories are available on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Eben, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Katrine. Now, the Farlam Commission of Inquiry has dismissed the application to have police witness Mr. X undergo a mental fitness examination. Advocate Darling Mpofu, representing injured miners, argued Mr. X's testimony could not be deemed credible if he was found to be mentally incompetent.
The request for mental evaluation was prompted by Mr. X's request on Friday. He wanted to hold proceedings to consult his sangoma, as he believed he was being bewitched.
The commissioners ourselves are trained medical practitioners. We don't have the competency, and we assume neither does the commission have, of making a finding one way or the other.
The submission was supported by the lawyers of the widows of the deceased miners and Union UMCU.
We submit that this is the stage where, before Mr. X continues with his evidence, the commission must be satisfied that he is actually competent.
Lonmin, evidence leaders Anenu M opposed the submission, and ultimately it was rejected.
I dismissed the application on the basis that, in my view, it had no merit.
In graphic detail, Mr. X detailed how 2 Lonmin security guards were mutilated and killed by a group called the Makarapa. They used the body parts for muti. Mr. X says the miners believed that this would make them stronger and invincible. Giving further testimony, Mr. X explained how the group of strikers killed another miner at the K4 shaft on the 12th of August 2012. Ntombimi Mia, SABC News, Centurion.
Well, for the very latest, joined by SABC reporter Ntombimi Mia, who is at the Farlam Commission. Very good morning to you, Ntombi. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Eben.
Fact is often stranger than fiction. This evidence is really way out there, isn't it, Ntombi?
Well, for some people, it might seem as though the evidence is a little bit out there. It is not necessarily what is considered the norm, considering that a witness requested that they go and consult their sangoma. What you would usually expect is that a witness would say they'd rather go consult their psychiatrist or they're going to go consult a medical doctor. But it is within Mr. X's constitutional right to decide whether or not he's going to consult with his sangoma or not. So it is all still within his constitutional right, whether it's stranger than fiction or not.
And what's the expectation then from today, Ntombi?
Well, what's happened so far is that Mr. X is back again on the stand. He's been cross-examined by police senior counsel, Mr. Frank Matebedi. Just to give you information on what's just happened recently, you will remember that Frank Matebedi is talking to Mr. X around the issue of one of the miners who was killed at the K4 shaft. Now, what's being shown in the commission hall right now is some of the graphic details of this man that was killed. And what happened was that his widow then collapsed and had to be escorted out of the commission and had to be taken to a nearby a medical car that was waiting by so that emergency workers could work on her and just make sure that she's been stabilized. So it's been quite dramatic in the first hour of Mr. X's testimony. You will remember he has given us absolutely grisly details about some of the killings that happened with the group of Makarapa that went into the K4 shaft in the afternoon to try and either kill or beat some of the miners who were not supporting their strike.
Body parts being used for muti is some of the grisly details that's come out. How has Mr. X performed, in your opinion, until now on the stand?
I do think, however, Eben, that Mr. X could possibly be cracking under pressure. It is possibly all getting a bit too much for him, because you will remember as he's recounting the story, he is reliving some of the brutal details that he and his fellow group of Makarapa went through. And honestly, I really can't see how this would sit normally in his conscience, that they killed 3 people in such a brutal way. It must be absolutely traumatic for him to remember how it was that they killed people that they probably knew. They probably knew their names. They probably interacted with them, but to kill them in such a brutal way so that they could achieve their goals must be one of the most traumatic things that Mr. X is dealing with right now. So I think that we're going to see on Friday what his mental state will be like, but I do think that it's going to take a massive toll on him.
Domino, the Sangoma who performed the ritual was killed as well before he could make an appearance at the commission. How much testimony or how much weight will the testimony of Mr. X then carry from now, do you think?
Well, you will remember, Eben, the Sangoma, who was the father of the 2 younger Sangomas who performed the actual rituals, was the one that was killed. So the 2 Sangomas themselves, the sons of the elder Sangoma, were not killed. They have since disappeared, and nobody really knows where they are hiding, because they themselves are obviously in hiding because they do not want to have to be subpoenaed to give testimony, because then that would mean they'd have to give their side of the story, and I'm sure that they wouldn't want to implicate themselves in any possible criminal charges that could possibly come about. But the fact that the older Sangoma was killed is strengthening Mr. X's testimony in terms of whatever it is he's saying about the Sangoma and whatever rituals it was that were performed by this Sangoma.
And then the commission itself, in conclusion, Tommy, can you sort of give us a time frame that we're looking at for it to complete its work, or is that still up in the air?
It's still up in the air, yeah, but you will remember that this week on the main has been set down for Mr. X's testimony, and it's not just for him to give testimony, it's also for the rest of the legal parties to cross-examine his testimony. But it's still not clear at the moment how much more time the commission has been given, but they have to conclude everything before the rest of this year so that Judge Ian Farlam can then present his findings, and the rest of the court processes need to follow. So if there are any criminal charges that need to be filed against individuals or against groups of people, it then needs to happen. So most likely next year we're going to start seeing a more formalized court process in terms of people who are facing some form of prosecution.
Thank you very much for that update. Ntombi Mia, of course, live outside the Farlam Commission in Pretoria. She keeps us updated on this very channel as to what's happening there. Mr. X, in front of the commission, giving evidence, and some of the detail of it is rather gory. But let's take a final look at what's happening on social media, what you're talking about. At SABC Newsroom is where it is at, of course. That's where you can interact with us. That's where you can send your contributions. Hun Materam says, it was not a bad performance. Are we talking World Cup? It was not a bad performance from Brazil. They beat the no-hopers Cameroon 4-1 yesterday. So Wisdom says, did any native doctor follow Cameroon to this World Cup? If yes, lame down, give him 24 struts of Koboko. He didn't do his job well, says Sir Wisdom. And then NS Madavan says, despite Neymar proving to be worthy inheritor of the number 10 shirt, Cameroon versus Brazil showed Brazil full of holes. Something embarrassing may happen soon. Well, it looks like they'll be playing against Mexico in the next knockout match. Goop Tweet says, Neymar looks like he's straight out of the film City of God. He needs to be cast in a gangster flick as soon as possible. And then there we have a picture of Neymar. That is what the gentleman is on about. Neymar Jr., of course, the poster boy for World Cup 2014 in Brazil. There you have more pictures coming in. Can you hear that? That sound is all of Brazil celebrating another Neymar goal. Yes, the Brazilians would say, long may the goal scoring continues. Next, they play Mexico. The Mexicans will have lots of support in Brazil. It will be a cracking knockout match in the second round. That's where we wrap it. Thank you for watching. Newsroom comes out to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. The show repeats at 2 in the afternoon with a rebroadcast then at 5 a.m. the following morning. We're also streaming live on YouTube with the show available on our YouTube channel all of the time. This is SABC News. You've been watching Newsroom. We simply love it in the morning.